Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be. I am sure you have been all studying the first 4 of the 7 key principles of performing your best. No matter what your performance area, from the fine arts to the creative arts to business to individual sports to group or team sports, these principles apply. I don't know how they apply to you. As a recap, principle number 1, which is the core of human performance, is this: the best performances are those that are allowed to emerge from deeply within you, almost as if there is a big reservoir deep within you of skills, abilities, experiences, intuitions. And your job is to allow this to come out in a natural way. Paradoxically, whenever you find yourself forcing a performance, manufacturing your effort, you're working against yourself. Principle 2 was that every performance is a separate identity unique unto itself. It has absolutely no relationship to any other performance unless you somehow allow it by giving up. Every practice, every rehearsal, every scrimmage, every low-level performance, every high-level performance is a separate and unique performance unto itself and treated as such. Principle number 3 was learning how to accept yourself, accept who you are, what you're able to do right now. Until you accept yourself, you cannot improve yourself. And until you accept yourself, you cannot be in a position from strengths to start improving the weaknesses. Principle number 4 was that we are all goal-oriented creatures. Within performance areas, make your goals appropriate and attainable, and as much as possible, make your performing goals in terms of processes. I'm relaxing early on, or I'm shutting the door here, I'm putting the hammer down here, focusing on processes and working on qualities. I am patient, I am classy, I am relaxed and poised, I am intense, instead of the outcome goals or number stat goals. If you have any number or stat goals, statistic goals, break them down into specific process or qualities. Those you can control. Okay, we're up to speed? Okay, we're going to be going through today principles number 5 and 6, things you might have heard before, but maybe not so much in these ways. I wanted to start with you by reading something rare that was from Jack Nicklaus, who is arguably the best golfer ever, along with Tiger Woods, Ben Hogan, and Mickey Wright. He didn't do much reflecting on it, and this is from his way back 1997 book called My Story. He said that so many people have the physical skills, the technological skills, even the course management skills, and they still don't win under pressure situations. He said this: with the benefit of perfect hindsight, I would pinpoint 4 qualities that seem to be shared by consistent winners in as far as golf is concerned. You can apply it to your own. Number 1, he said, first and foremost, is the ability to think clearly under pressure. Stress and tension, he said, tend to fuzz up the mental machinery, which leads to errors for him in shot-making strategy and execution, generally as a result of impaired observation or muddied analysis, or both. Our brains and our bodies become so muddled up. He said, if I had to pick the attribute that has contributed most heavily to my golfing success, it is this: to think clearly under pressure. Number 2 quality, he said, was patience. Number 3 was self-centeredness, in terms of what we talked about last time, about control over what you can in that moment. And 4, he said, in his quality of his essentials for winning, is simply working harder and smarter at all of the above, those first 3 of clear-mindedness, patience, and self-centeredness, working hard on the mental game. for at least 7 years or so. I was the sports psychologist at Western Nevada College for our really outstanding baseball teams and softball teams. These young women and men who played these had dedicated at least 2 years of their lives to this. They extended their playing careers, and even some of them jumped into D1 programs from that. I worked with them on this course, a full semester 3-credit course. I also taught 1-credit special topics courses for each, the psychology of baseball and the psychology of softball. And then also did various specific as needed lectures, as well as working with individuals, players, as well as coaches. So I had a huge investment in these fine young women and men for at least 7 years. At baseball and softball games, both of our teams' dugout was on the third base side of the field. So what I would always do at these games is sit on the first base side, usually the visitor's side, the opponent's side, because I wanted to look into the dugouts to see how my players individually and collectively were getting along, communicating, and acting. Most of these games, due to travel schedules, were double headers, 2 consecutive days of double headers each day. And between 2 games once at a baseball game, the head coach went to one of our assistant coaches and said, "Hey, I heard you have this guy who seems to know a lot about the psychology of baseball. Point him out to me if you would." And he pointed me out. And he came over me, this visiting coach came over to me. A lot of times people want free advice or a magic wand kind of response. And we started talking a little bit after we introduced ourselves to each other. He said that he had read some of my research before, and I said I really complimented his coaches and his team, how well they're playing. And he said, "Well, tell me this. What are the 2 things that are essential to great performances and putting us in a position to win?" They always want simple responses. So I said very clearly and very succinctly, the 2 are the ability to concentrate in a deep and sustained manner, and the ability to relax and stay centered in a deep and sustained manner. I also said each one of these has about 20 individual parts to them. So there is no clear answer, but these 2 qualities of the ability to concentrate, which we will talk about in the next video, and the ability to relax before and during the performance were keys. So that is our principle 5, is the ability to relax and to stay calm, cool, collected, and poised. Too often we let the pressure of the situation or this more is better mentality as applies to intensity. If there's a little intensity is good, so a lot more intensity must be better. And that rarely works. There is a classic principle in the physiology of human performance called the Yerkes-Dodson line. And that essentially means that with each performance over time, the more intensity I lead and develop, the higher my performance comes up, only to a point. If it becomes too much, I cross a fine line where too much intensity is bad and I start going down. I found just similarly the same fine line in all sorts of performances, especially with musical performances, acting performances, as well as athletic performances. But this fine line, once crossed, I think goes straight down very quickly. You try too hard, you push too hard, you become reactive to all the pressures. You stop relaxing, you stop staying centered. That's our principle 5, is learning how to relax, stay centered. That's easier said than done. You see what happens is that the more relaxed base I can achieve before, and more importantly, during the performance, the more I can channel not only the intensity, but the anxiety, the apprehensions, all the little doubts that go in our heads, the more I can channel those things in a productive way. You see, there are two levels of relaxation, secondary and primary relaxation. Secondary relaxation is techniques we will do, having a yoga class, doing some kind of meditation, doing some affirmations, joking around, laughing around is also, these activities are nice, what I call secondary forms of relaxation. But primary forms of relaxation is relaxation, spending time developing your own style of learning how to relax and learning how to apply that and actually do that before the performance. Whether it's sitting in your car before you enter the performance arena, sitting in the locker room or the rehearsal studio, taking time out. Remember from the first principle, I talked about this reservoir of skills, abilities, and experiences. Extending that metaphor one step further is that relaxation opens up the performance pathways, loosens up the performance pathways. So all of these integrated skills, abilities can come out in a natural, fluid way. When we're too tense before and during, it constricts all of this that comes out from us. Relaxation opens up the performance pathways. Here are a couple clues. Develop your own style of relaxing. What all of these have in common, whether it's transcendental meditation, autogenic training, biofeedback training, progressive relaxation, whatever the name of it is that all of those at some level have this focus on the same thing, and that is the ability to breathe fully and succinctly. Breathing just fast enough so you don't need to gasp for air, taking 2 or 3 or 4 seconds to inhale and 2 or 3 or 4 seconds to exhale, along with the pauses between inhale and exhale. In nautical terms, that last pause between exhale is called slack tide, where there is no tide coming in or tide going out. Spend as much time as you can in the exhale in slack tide. The more you slow things down with your breathing, the more your body, emotions, and mind follow along. From a relaxed state, you cannot be physically tensed at the same time. Those are incompatible. So learn how to ground yourself before and during the performances. During the performances, maybe breaks in the action or timeouts or interruptions. Spend time going back to your relaxed state. You cannot be fully and deeply relaxed and be tensed at the same time. It's contradictory. Here's a little other clue. The times you feel that you don't have the time to relax are the times you need it the most. Too often we rush ourselves. We don't manage our time well. We rush ourselves while warming up, rush ourselves preparing for the performance, rushing into the performance arena, when we need to spend 2 or 3 or 5 minutes before we do that relaxing. You think that if I rush, I don't have time to relax. That's exactly when you need it the most. So invest yourself in that time. I came up, you know what an acronym is? An acronym is a word that each of the letters starts out with a component or step or phase of the component. And I came up with this acronym some years ago called C.A.L.M. And many of my athletes and performing artists created their own acronyms for C.A.L.M. Here are a bunch of C's that you may want. Right now at this time, on a sheet of paper, write down the letters C.A.L.M. on it. And start looking at your components. As I read some of these, for each letter, you may want to write one down that fits. or come up with your own. Under C is clear, committed, composed or composure, class, cool, collected, confident, comfortable, control, whatever else you may want to write. Write one of those down or whatever you came up with. Write a couple down if you haven't decided yet. Our A under calm is aware, attentive, attuned, action, act, accept, attitude, affirmative. Write one down or a couple down that you may want to fit into your own formula for being calm. Our L stands for, you can include loose or languid or liquid or laugh or love or live or live or let it, as in let it be. What L do you want to put into that? Our M stands for motivated, intrinsically motivated, meticulous, mastery, move or move on, moment, as in being in the moment, and the two different pronunciations of moderate or moderate, or whatever you come down with that. From this, you can create your own acronym of CALM, what it means, what are your end states of relaxing. The more you relax, the more you find your own way of relaxing, the more you can start emphasizing that. It is a skill, and just like any other skill, that the more you practice this skill, the more efficient you become with it, you can achieve a relaxed state more quickly and last longer, and it go even deeper into relaxation. Have you ever had someone bring you through a relaxation sequence and you thought, wow, that's terrific? You can actually improve that in terms of the depth you go into and sustaining that. Relaxing, spending time to relax, connecting with yourself, connecting with the moment. Come up with your own definitions of calm, or come up with another acronym word, because during the pressure of competitions or performances, especially before, it's easier just to remember calm, even though you don't remember the individual names for each of the C.A.L.M. If you just think calm, you feel calm, you emote a sense of calmness, trusting that whatever your components are fit into calmness, you will be more of those. Do not believe me on this, but learning how to stay relaxed is one key component. The second component of this principle, number 5, is to stay centered. Now, this is not a heebie-jeebie concept. Staying centered is physically and mentally and emotionally connecting with yourself. So you come to a center. Let me sit up a little bit here. The Hindus have a word for their physical and spiritual center called the hara. Right underneath your belly button is your physical center, your spiritual center. And can you find your own physical center? Do you feel balanced? Do some stretching, do some yoga before your activities. Do some deep breathing and feel where the diaphragm goes down into and how it moves. But also feel your connections to your thoughts, your attitudes, as well as your emotions. What does it feel like to be centered? Some of you who are predisposed to this may include the dimension of spirituality or religiosity into your center. Some people who have strong spiritual practices or religious beliefs find that there is a sense of serenity or peace that is almost in a spiritual achievement. Some performers I know use their spirituality or religiosity as the primary pathway to become centered. If you're playing from center, then everything is better emanated from that. Those of you who have exercised know that they say work on your core. Well, your performance core is the ability to stay centered. What does relaxation mean for you? What does being centered mean for you? Find out what they are. Find out how to do those things and build upon those. Remember, those are important before performances, during performances. Some people even do it after performances, where with their post-performance routines. Remember, like a muscle from a relaxed state can contract with a lot more force, intensity, and duration than a muscle that is from a little bit tensed state. Does that make sense? Use that as a parallel for you being in a relaxed state. You can perform in a more contracted way, in a deeper way, for a longer way than in coming from a slightly tense state. Find out, become almost too relaxed, not to the point where you're becoming apathetic or lackadaisical. Look about how you can stay relaxed, and then what is optimal for your relaxation before and during. Spend the time on it. A lot of other things connect from this base of relaxation. I shall see you next time for principle number 6. Thank you.